Greetings everyone, and welcome back finally to another episode of Welcome to the Show, Battle of the Heroes and Villains. I apologise strongly for having been gone so long. I wanted to use the time to work on my contribution to Nando V Movie's One Villainous Scene series. Please check out that entry in the description below. But for now, we're here talking about, in my opinion, one of the most interesting characters in Welcome to the Show, Owen Lightbringer, the Dwarven Cleric. And, as you can see here, 67.6% of our voters gave him an A, 24.3% gave him a B, and only 8.1% gave him a C, with no one giving him a D or an F. And when you add it all together and consider A a score of 5 and F a score of 1, Owen Lightbringer has a final score of 4.59, which currently puts him in 4th place behind Amber Hawthorne. Now, let's get to your comments. First up, we have a comment by Son of Heaven 176. I know that we should generally separate character from actor, but in the case of Owen, a slight peek at the actor is warranted. In Season 1, it appeared that Owen was little more than a character played by Dr. Wolf. When we got that accidental look at Owen's character sheet in an earlier episode which showed that Owen was chaotic neutral, I didn't see it. But we were looking at nothing more than lawful good Dr. Wolf. Sure, Owen was somewhat harsh, bore the ear pulling, but all we saw was the tough love father figure. He took no guff from the buffoon's Jallarham Cross, he was a team healer, and overall, it made sense when the Papa Wolf moniker bled into the fan moniker Papa Owen. However, in Season 2, Doc basically called us out on that. We have this little gem in episode 61. Chaotic neutral? Yes. I'm sorry, that's just frankly not what I expected. What did you expect from me, might I ask? Well, you've been taking care of a lot of us for most of our entire journey, so I didn't expect someone... That's usually an alignment for, tricksters and mischief makers. You just don't really fit that bill. I suppose you see me as this kindly father figure taking care of the group? Is that it? I thought I'd made it abundantly clear that I'm pointing out when each of you do stupid things, then I heal you after you do your stupid things. Then came the reveal that Owen was Vorgren Vineblight and the architect behind the nightmares. Nope, Owen wasn't just a slightly more abrasive alter ego of Dr. Wolf. Then came Season 3. Doc wasn't feeling as invested, and Owen wasn't as talkative as he was in Seasons 1 and 2. Owen was just... there. Until Owen put Ravage to sleep and later revealed his fear that he could never escape who he was, even if he had a new identity. In my honest opinion, it was in Season 4, episode 134 to be exact, that Owen finally came fully into his own with his question for a quest interaction with Ryan and his mic drop of a speech. Order the stick reference or not, I think that this was a turning point in the development of Owen as a character. TLDR, I think that in Welcome to the Show, a major development Owen as a character was that Owen developed as his character, and not just a mask for Dr. Wolf. That being said though, there is still a lot about Owen that we can judge. He's a complex character with quite the tragic backstory. He's very touched with bad luck, yet he's a cleric. He cares about others, yet he has to keep some level of distance as a necessity. We basically have someone who's otherwise a lawful good character and serves as the chaotic neutral god. However, in the end, he was free to be his own person, and even managed to gain a sense of humour of his own. Anyone remember the epilogue? If I wanted to giggle to myself, I would have started barking. From a Doyle's perspective, Owen grew from basically a mask for Dr. Wolf to a character in his own right. And from Watsonian perspective, Owen learned to accept himself and become part of the group, even after a slight bout of being just there in Season 3. However, those setbacks, the fact that he was sometimes just a background character, leave him short of being an A-tier character. Solid B from me. And honestly, I agree with a lot of what Son of Heaven was saying. In fact, again, a small peek behind the curtain, I hope Josh doesn't mind, but it was actually my idea that I shared with Doc and Josh for Owen to have that speech, because I noticed that a lot of people were assuming that Owen's motives were fatherly and kindly, when even he himself had said, guys, I'm doing this because you're useful to me. It's not because I like you. Again, he said to John Cross from the start, if you idiots screw this up for me, I'm throwing you away the first chance I get. Like, he kind of made it clear he was in this for himself, and his alliance with the party, at least at first, was nothing but an alliance of convenience. There's also a lot of things he does in the first season, and especially the first couple of sessions, which take on a darker light when you actually look into it with the context that we have now. For example, notice the numerous times he intentionally puts his hands on the party members. When Cross or Jalaram would do something to annoy him, and he'd shake their hands or pat them on the back or anything to curse them. Now keep in mind, Owen knew this would curse them. He did not need to physically interact with them. In fact, he could very easily have kept his physical distance, as he has done several times, and as far as Owen believed at the time, because he still thought that he had killed the prince by his curse, that his curse was lethal. So, in a dangerous environment, Owen would intentionally curse people with a potentially lethal curse for no other reason than they mildly irritated him. Owen was not a good person in the early sessions. Anyway, up next we have a comment from Handsome Volpe. I'd like to give Owen an A. He's a great example of chaotic neutral done right. Chaotic neutral characters are such a problem in D&D that have been memed to absolute kingdom come with an infuriating common line, "It's what my character would do." Meanwhile, Doc wielded chaotic neutral with Owen like a skilled surgeon wields a scalpel. Right from the start, Owen had a real presence in the party. He was often the voice of reason, no pun intended voice, when most of the party was freaking out over one thing or another. His character started out being all about taking control and getting others to do what he wanted. Then slowly but surely he learned to trust in others. He honestly had some of the greatest moments in the entire campaign. I still consider the Vorgren Vineblight twist to be the greatest plot twist I've seen so far. Period. Suddenly so many things that happened up to that point were turned completely on their head. That is immediately followed up by the Bella showing up, the party buffing Owen up about as high as he could go, and everyone holding up their holy symbol to cast an epic level banishment, and then the Bella rolls a nat 1 to resist. That's got to be the greatest nat 1 in the history of D&D. And then that is followed by Owen revealing everything, including him being behind all those Arkoth dreams, among other things. This helps set up the entire rest of the campaign beautifully. Now during Season 4, there's him one-shotting a frickin' Tarrasque. Not only that, but because the Tarrasque only hits some summoned creatures, not any of the party, Owen wins! Flawless victory! Fatality. Overall, Owen's such a deep and complex character, and the very definition of stoic. His impact on the story and on the rest of the party is monumental, and while Amber is my favourite character of the party, Owen is definitely a close second. And yeah, see, while I do have criticisms against Owen's moral fibre and the fact that he was an abusive arsehole in the first 3 sessions of the campaign, Owen might not have been a good person, but he was an excellent character. He was definitely one of the most complex and well-created characters, and Volpine's right. He is one of the best examples of chaotic neutral done right. No, done brilliantly. Anyway, next we have a comment from Noid Brightclaw. I give Owen an A. Personally, I can kinda relate with the man, mostly to his distant disposition, his silent judgment, and his calculating nature. Some may not see it, but we see him develop silently from where he was in Season 1, from all the manipulation and deception both Season 1 and 2, to opening up more in Season 3 and 4. The reveal of who he actually was something that I did not see coming, and I was surprised in a pleasant way. It's also really pleasing to see that by the end of the party's adventure, he's finally able to mostly do what he wants now, without anyone to take it away from him. Next we have a comment from Just Call Me Jay. I give Owen an A. The most obvious reason is that when I refer to him, I use One-Shotted the Tarrasque as his middle name. Owen, One-Shotted the Tarrasque Lightbringer. There's just no topping that moment. Whenever I tell this to the other D&D players, they're always like, wait, what? But enough gushing about that one moment. Let's move on to what else I like about Owen. I like his dressing down of the other party members, building up to Jalaram and later Ravus returning the favour. He made them have to think about why they do what they do via those nightmares he crafted. Well, he did that for selfish reasons, to force them to trust him and hate Arkoth, though the latter reason was definitely not unwarranted. Some good did come out from it. Self-reflection is a good thing when it results in trying to become a better person. The party members did, and then Owen himself so became better after being called out on his crap. So by always spawning a sour expression, the revelation that nightmares were indeed his doing, Owen still became a calming and comforting presence to the party members, though maybe not the players themselves. Having him around did indeed make them feel safe, and he in turn grew to genuinely care about them, even if he didn't show it in normal ways. It's a shame though that he never once even showed a hint at a smile even after the time-skipped finale, but he has centuries ahead of him to warm up with his new status as a Lidamara, so I'm still hopeful. And yeah, I mean, Owen had one of some of, if not the coolest moments of the campaign with, as Jay pointed out, one-shotting a freaking Tarrasque. In terms of his actions having good results, especially in the terms of the nightmare, my personal feelings about that are it very easily could have gone the other way. In fact, most evidence pointed to it going the other way. I kind of, when I think about his answer of, I mean, the nightmares helped bring Ivan and Amber together, so they were a good thing in the end, I kind of get reminded of a line from Star Trek Into Darkness.
That's your problem. You think you're infallible. You think you can't make a mistake. It's a pattern with you. The rules are for other people.
Some should be.
And what's worse is you're using blind luck to justify your playing God.
But at the same time, I like to feel that Owen did smile in the end, even if it was on the inside. Up next we have a comment from Wicked Cat. Oh, Papa Owen, what can we say about you? Well, in every sense of the word, he is the papa of the group. Always there to lend an ear if people need it, and not afraid to pull anyone's ears when they make a fool of themselves. He also helps to take care of the people he cares about, giving them advice and making sure they have a good breakfast, Heroes Feast. He is really skilled in combat too, either healing the team as a good cleric, or delivering a mighty blow to the bad guy as the tank. And his arc is good too, from being the stubborn old dwarf to a valuable teammate to now being a god. It was quite the journey to watch. However, there are a few things that doesn't make me a perfect day for me. Yes, that big reveal about Owen was mind-blowing and the truth about the dreams was shocking, but other than that, there aren't too many standout moments with him. Put simply, when Owen is alone or taking charge of a situation, he stands out. But when he is with everyone else in the group, he kind of fades into the background. And he really contributes when people ask him to, or when he pulls them aside to talk to them. When it came to Season 3, I'm not too sure what he was doing with this character. Trying to do things on his own without the group's input? What happened to all that character growth in Season 2 with Rayan? And if you really think about it, Besides making food for everyone and putting Ravus to sleep, what else did he really do that was memorable? Thankfully, he improved himself a lot in Season 4, battling Zaylin and caring for the team and Rhyme. He definitely deserves the offer to become a deity in the end, and I'm sure he will still be the stubborn old trickster we all know and love. So with that, I wish I could Owen a B+, but it will have to be a B. And Wicked Cat makes an excellent point. Owen is a fascinating character, but what probably holds him back from being the top spot is the fact that he would often fade into the background, that he would be a side character in many scenarios. And, like, I feel that Doc was doing that on purpose to give other people more time to shine, and as a player that is absolutely admirable, but I do feel sometimes he pulls too back in the opposite direction, to the point where, you know, we do want to see more of your characters, Doc. We do want to hear you speak up more. And perhaps it's us being selfish. Like, if this is how he enjoys it, that's fine. But I mean, he has some of the most interesting characters. We want to see more of them. As for the stuff in Season 3, even I noticed that myself, that he was being even more quiet than usual, and I'll admit that I did get a little bit concerned that, you know, he suddenly started becoming even more quiet because, you know, I had shown up, and I was worried that potentially my presence was making him feel uncomfortable or unwilling to engage as much as he used to. I will say that, because it was brought up, the whole thing with putting Ravus to sleep, it was an idea that was great in theory, and had he altered it just a little bit, he would have been able to pretty much cheat code all of Season 4. The problem was that not only did he time it incredibly poorly, put in the situation where if Ravus hadn't woken up, the party would have been killed by Lolth hands down, but he also essentially presented it to the team in the most antagonistic way possible, rather than convincing the team to also, you know, want Ravus asleep. He basically just went, yeah, I'm doing this, all the rest of you fall in line, which pretty much guaranteed that they were going to mutiny against him and demand that Ravus be woken up. Again, good idea in theory, the execution could have used a lot of work. Up next, we have a comment from Whisper. Owen, oh Owen, Papa Owen. I am torn between a B+ or an A-. He is such an amazing character with one hell of a backstory. He has so many epic moments and many, many funny moments helping keep Jal in line. He was a fundamental person to the group, and the thought that he had to trick everyone else into thinking that they needed him was honestly a good idea. And even if he didn't have to go through that, I believe he would have been essential regardless. Dr. Wolf played the part of Owen superbly. The fact that he didn't always say a lot fit him well, but it's the fact that when he talked, everyone stopped to listen to what he had to say. He was intimidating to his enemies, yet caring when it came to the party's problems. He played off everyone so well, and if I hadn't known any better, I would have picked him as the fearless leader of the heroes of Jaminia. And it was because of Owen and Amber that I actually got into D&D. All in all, Owen is the best case example of the strong, silent type. He can take charge of nearly any situation. Even when he decided to turn into a god, he was putting the party before himself. Final results for Owen, A. Love your Doc, love your acting skills. Definitely an A. Not just in terms of his character, but also in how he used the class of Cleric. They're meant for support and healing. Essentially their job to keep the party from dying due to something stupid or someone powerful. Owen took this as a character to mean he has to prevent the party from getting into those kinds of situations where possible, and save them should they find themselves in such situations. The fact is, there were many times throughout the series where Owen was the reason the party survived as long as they did, more so than any other party member, if I'm remembering correctly. And yet he treated this as the exception, not as a debt or conditional service. Not to mention the sneaky reveal of his past was done flawlessly, and the way he commanded respect from others through his action was inspiring. His growth as a character was also handled well. It was slow, and sometimes he did regress back to the silent, stoic dwarf we were introduced to in the first episode, but he did eventually become the best version of himself he could have been. And Doran Shroud makes an excellent point. You see, expert players of D&D have come to realise that the class's stereotypical roles are often not the only roles that they can play, nor are they often the most optimised roles. Yes, the default stereotype of a cleric is nothing but the heal bot, but clerics have such a wide potential for damage dealing, healing, buffing, and just so many other abilities that the combination of cleric and druid is often jokingly referred to by players as Codzilla. Up next we have a comment from Zanril the Drow. I voted A for Owen, and here's why. First, his dream manipulation. He uses powers to bring fear and then came into saving those dreams. It's devious. Second, his bad luck curse. It's both a gift and, well, a curse. It's especially fun when you take into account how well it can be taken advantage of. Third, reprimanding people by grabbing their ears. A good source of light-hearted amusement for such a serious character. Fourth, his many secrets. His bad luck curse, his dream manipulation, Vorgren Vineblight, and 18 Vs for some reason. And all the way down to Jaminia and Simula's cat being his deity. Although I don't know if Owen knew about that detail, but having a Cheshire cat as a deity, he might as well just choose Discord as his deity. Fifth, Dr. Wolf's performance. Normally I choose to leave the player out of my decision, but I think that when pointed out how good Owen is as a character, you have to add that asterisk of Dr. Wolf's performance, especially later on when he started to have a more creepy tone which wasn't even intentionally supposed to be creepy. And then he owned that creepiness when he made Sybil. Finally, not only did he replace his deity as the god of chaos, he also took a page out of his predecessor's book and chose to pussyfoot around. By the way, do we ever get artwork for Owen as a cat? Hey, yeah, guys, Owen, artwork, cat, we want! Next, we have a comment from Blaze the Skywalker. I'm going to give Owen an A, as I found him a very interesting and compelling character, and as early as episodes 3 to 4, I had a feeling there was more to the character than what was being shown. For example, he took a spiked gauntlet as a weapon over a hammer or a mace like typical clerics, and when it was revealed that he was the cursed child, it all clicked in my mind, and I found myself saying, clever Doc. I also like to Owen was the strong silent type of character. Finally, we have a comment from Ripple Effect MLP. Owen. One tough cookie. He started off as kind of interesting in his passive aggressiveness, beginning with his lecture of Jalaramon trying to save a blink dog in his response to Old Rose's dwarf friend followed. My initial assumption of his role in the dreams was interesting too. I, as likely several others did, assumed that the Warden was responsible for the dreams that Owen interceded, 9 times out of 10. While the revelation of Owen being Vorgren Vineblight was shocking and exciting, the additional revelation of him being responsible for the nightmares rubbed me the wrong way. To this day, I feel like he got off the hook for that too easily and too quickly. It's either my least favourite season for several reasons, one of them being how Owen felt more like a background character than the hero who banished the Valor. I also didn't like that he felt like he had to give himself up during the endgame. Not just with him taking up his deity's mantle, but also with him willing to be a sacrifice for Soul Dive. Never thought I'd ever say, thank you, Simula. And while his creativity gave birth to the divine power of Righteous Might combo and took down both the Balor and the Taras with extreme ease, I personally think those moments were Doc being creative, not Owen being creative. However, I am glad that Owen was able to reconcile with his father and reunite with his royal friend. Doc played the character very well, but was still a character out of whom I wish we just got a little bit more. I wish I could give him a C+, but I sadly have to settle with a C. And while potentially harsh in some areas, he does make a few good points. And as I have said before, in my opinion, the way Owen acted with the dreams was, well, and I've said it was downright abusive to the party. He literally gaslit them and psychologically tortured them just to make them dependent on him. As I said earlier, Season 1 Owen was not a good person. Still, he remains one of the most interesting characters, and while he did not start as a good person, I truly think he became one by the end. He went from being someone who was using the team to someone who is truly part of the team. Owen Lightbringer deserves his high spot on the rankings. And so, we come to the end of this character. Next time, we will be looking at a very popular character when we take a look at the always lovable Ivan Windstrummer. Until then, link to the Discord is in the comments. Go over there if you want to talk to people who are also fans of the series and vote on the next character. I will see you all next time.